disappointing season. We all kind of saw this, that a refresh was coming in Baltimore. And coaching staff got introduced. Jesse Minter had his press conference, new head coach in Baltimore, and he was asked about coming into a team that has massive expectations and the expectation of hitting the ground running going into the year. Take a listen.
We want everybody to have high expectations from the outside. We want to build standards inside that match what we want the results to be. And I think if we do that, we have a hungry group that is coming off of a year that they're not as proud of as some of the previous seasons. And so there is a hunger amongst the players to get right back to work and hit the ground running.
This is a fun one because the Ravens have the third best odds to win the Super Bowl, tied with Buffalo. They are the co-favorites to win the AFC with Buffalo. Yet they just fired their head coach, and they have the 14th pick in the draft. Greg, I'll start with you. Do you still consider the Ravens an elite team?
Well, of course they are an elite team. Just because you have a down year doesn't mean that you are not capable of being an elite team. When you look over the course of the Ravens last year, the year before, previous years, this has been a dominant team, and this is why they are elite. They have an elite quarterback. Obviously, we know their running game, who they are offensively. Defensively, they find ways to get better and improve at the right time. But there are not a lot of teams that just win and win at a high clip. But the Ravens are one of those teams. I have a graphic for you guys, and you guys can tell me. Would we suggest that these top teams, when you look at the Eagles, Lions, Bills, all over the last 3 seasons, 36 wins, pretty elite, correct? We look at those teams and give those teams opportunities to win and a chance to win. The Ravens are right there tied with the defending the Super Bowl champs, Seahawks. And then you got
one more win than Kansas City.
And then you have the Chiefs right there. So you got 3 of the last 3 Super Bowl champions with top wins in the National Football League. All 3 of those teams, just because they haven't had success as of recent, they are elite. You have an elite quarterback. You have a roster that you feel really good about going into this offseason. We were all suggesting, man, the Ravens they have the best opening. All they need is a head coach that understands what the task is at hand and to see if he can get over the hump. And we expect this team to come out of the North. I know, Willie, what you're going to probably say. You're going to have to counter for that. But we expect this team to come out of the North, be in the mix, because they have Lamar Jackson. Yes, this team is elite.
No, they're not elite.
Okay.
Let's keep it a buck. On paper, yes, they look like an elite team. But when you finish 8-9 and miss the playoffs, that doesn't make you elite anymore. What Coach Minter, now head coach of the Ravens, just said, the standard for the Ravens is playing physical football. We haven't seen that. You talk about interior line, offensive line of the Ravens, depleted. You're talking about the only weapon on the outside is Zay Flowers. You're talking about 2 tight ends who were spotty, surely likely dealt with some injuries. Mark Andrews was in and out of the lineup, wasn't as consistent. Derrick Henry had issues. I mean, the bottom line, at one point, they were elite. I give you that. But you're talking about currently, they are not elite. And the teams right now who are elite, like the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Bills, those teams play a brand of football and are consistent and have the ability to make deep runs in the playoffs. I don't see that happening with the Ravens. Obviously, with them not being in the playoffs last year, what I struggle with is defensively, they have lost their identity. When they lost Matabikwe, that was a huge blow to their defense.
It was.
Because he was their #1 run stopper. And you talk about in the back, and Marlon Humphreys, we couldn't find him on tape. So you have all these deficiencies on these teams, and all these guys you depend on, they haven't showed up. And outside of Lamar Jackson coming off this injury-plagued year, I'm not confident they're going to go back to elite form next year. So I don't believe they're elite.
So I got to push back really quick, because this is why I put that graphic up there, because the Kansas City Chiefs had a down year. Would you say that the Kansas City Chiefs are an elite team?
Not right now, no.
Not right now?
No.
Would you give them a chance to compete for a championship? Would you say that they're one that can compete for a championship next year?
Not right now, no.
I'll move on.
You can't ask me a question and you don't get my response. You're like, well, look at the Chiefs. You've got a quarterback coming off of ACL. You have Travis Kelce's future fleeting at this point. He may be retired. Nobody's going to come back. You have a defense that may be losing Trent McDuffie. Huge. Sam Chanel may be leaving. Huge. They don't have another edge rusher. So there's issues that would say, hey, man, this team may be regressing. That's my point.
Well, I guess what I would say is that the Ravens, like, your graphic did not move me as much as I think you wanted it to, because they have been an elite regular season team.
Of course.
And they have underachieved relative to their seed time and time again in the postseason. So the question is, are they going to do that again? They got an interesting needle that they need to thread. Like Lamar Jackson's due a $75 million cap hit, so they have to sign him to an extension.
Yes.
Because then they had to open up some cap space to do some things, to help their interior of their offensive line, maybe to keep Linderbaum. Like, they've got pending free agents, guys that they would want to bring back. They've got the 14th pick in the draft. So they've got to nail a lot of things. But I will say this. What I like is I love that Jesse Minter hire. Because people sometimes, because I'm a Herbert guy, they're like, oh, you're a Chargers guy. I'm like, I'm not really. I was a Herbert guy. But when I paid as close attention to Herbert as I did, you have to pay attention to the Chargers. Jesse Minter did an incredible job. He got their defense to overachieve. And the story of the Ravens has been underachieving.
Correct.
And so if we can show what the Chargers did defensively against what the Ravens have done defensively the last 2 years when Minter was the defensive coordinator in LA, I think we would all agree that there is more talent in Baltimore than there is in LA.
I agree with that.
On the defensive side of the ball. They put more people in the Pro Bowl. They put more people in All-Pros. But look at the ranks. The Chargers defense actually overachieved. So if Jesse Minter can come in and get the talent on Baltimore to actually play up to their level and overachieve relative to their talent, that's their path to still being an elite
Well, this
team.
is the issue. You brought in Declan Doyle, ex-Bear head coach, right? Now you got
ex-Bear assistant coach. Yeah.
Of course, my apologies.
Yeah.
You got to see how he gels with Lamar. That's one. Two, the Ravens historically don't attack free agency aggressive. They kind of let the fire go by, and they say, all right, let's figure out who we really want. They don't go into the offseason, and this free agency say, hey, man, we got this big name, let's throw money at it, let's get him. That's not what they do. So you're talking about a roster you already have. You're not aggressive in free agency. You got a new offensive coordinator who you don't know is going to gel with Lamar Jackson. There's some serious concerns, and we don't know what the interior of the offensive line going to look back. Because Linderbaum may say, hey, I want the bag. Do you have the money to give him back? I don't know, because he's going to possibly get another number one receiver.
Dan, are you saying that they are not an elite team?
I think that they are an elite roster. I think they're an elite roster.
They have elite paper.
So how do you, the regular season does matter, correct?
No doubt.
Okay,
They were 8-9 last year.
And in order to, so your Pittsburgh Steelers, they're an elite team?
They went to the playoffs.
I'm asking, are they an elite team?
They went to the playoffs.
Now I'm going to ask, are they an elite team?
Of course they're not an elite team.
Okay, I'm just making sure we're being realistic.
They are better than the Ravens.
No, they are not. They are not. And I understand that they went to the postseason.
So the playoffs don't matter?
The playoffs do matter. It feels good. You want to get to the postseason. But if we're just saying, okay, how you perform in the postseason is the standard of if you're elite, then we can't do that. That's a completely different question.
I'm with you on that. And I think Lamar should be excellent this year because Lamar is, generally speaking, excellent in the regular season. Brew always talks about them being S-Bob. What am I supposed to get out of a Ravens team that wins 11 or 12 games in the regular season and then underachieves in the postseason? I struggle with that, which is why I'm interested in seeing if Jesse Minter can actually get them to play up to their talent level, to play up to their seed level.
And one of the reasons why we were talking about Harbaugh not being the guy moving forward is because we felt like, man, he can't get them over the hump. Well, if there's this idea that we believe that they are close and they just need somebody to see if they can get them over the hump, well, that to me says we believe that this team has an opportunity to contend for a championship, which then tells me they're an elite team because we don't say that across the board with every team. Buffalo, do they have a chance to? Are they an elite team?
Yes.
What makes them an elite team?
12 wins, an MVP quarterback.
12 wins, MVP quarterback.
And a defense and a run game with James Cook.
Won a playoff game.
They won a playoff game.
Okay, I was going to say, you got to talk about the playoffs because they got one.
Off your basis. Does it matter or does not matter?
I mean, it does.
Okay,
it
here we go
does.
again.
So
it does matter.
So a down year eliminates you from being an elite team.
If you don't make the playoffs, yes, Greg. The Baltimore Ravens didn't make the playoffs. They went 8-9 and missed the playoffs. What am I saying? Am I speaking Chinese?
You kind of are.
I
feel like you are right now. I feel like
you're just not listening to me.
No, because
8-9 and you missed the playoffs, you are not an elite team. I think that's a fair statement.
I don't think they had an elite year.
If you have an elite roster, an elite roster survives this season. It didn't. You had poor offensive line play. You couldn't stop the run. Your secondary was a no-show. You had an injury-plagued quarterback. Derrick Henry had turnover issues. That doesn't make you an elite team.
This past season. Now we're
I can only go off of this season.
No, we're talking about
Why
the
are we
Ravens.
digging into the crates?
We're talking about the Ravens as we're talking about the 2026 upcoming season. Am I the only one thinking that way?
Okay, so stay there. If we're talking about next season, we can only go about what happened this season to see if they're going to be good or relevant for next season.
No.
Does that not?
No, listen, I think it's a reasonable, I honestly think it's a totally reasonable disagreement you guys are having. Like,
you can't evaluate next season without this season.
I'm sitting back and enjoying it and eating my popcorn because, like, they had a lot of holes this year and a lot of problems that we did not expect them to have based on preseason expectations coming into this year. But it also felt like they really underachieved their talent level.
Thank you.
And so if they play to their talent level,
Which they didn't
this year.
They didn't.
But if they played to their talent level, they should get back to being what they've been the last few years, 3-4 years, which is one of the best regular season teams in football.
Yeah, I see you want to emphasize the regular.
I
understand all their issues in the postseason.
That is just true.
But Greg, you can't evaluate next season without looking at this season that passed. That's the standard.
So Willie, answer me this question.
Riddle me this, Batman.
What was one of the best openings in all of football in terms of there was 10 openings.
Yeah.
Where did you have them ranked?
Steelers won. Do you want me to? What do you want me to say?
Yeah. Continue.
Why you laugh? Steelers won. Giants 2. Right? What?
Bills.
You can't ask me the question and then get mad.
I feel like you're doing any and everything to just continue to lower their. Look, they were one of the better openings. Why? Because you believe that if you get that job, I have the quarterback in place. We know they have a physical brand of football, regardless of what Derrick Henry did early in the season and sometimes late in games. Early, fumble, cool. That's not his typical MO. We know what he's going to bring to the table. Do they need to address things? Absolutely. Every team this offseason is looking to improve their roster.
Yes, sir.
The Ravens aren't out of that equation. They are right there in the thick of it, right at the front of the line saying, we got to get better, we got to improve. They believe that they did that with their head coaching hire, their defensive head coach, or their defensive coordinator, obviously plugging someone from a great mind next to Ben Johnson all season long. We'll see what that does as far as unlocking and taking Lamar to another level in this offense. We'll see. These are all things that they have to walk out, but if we're saying that this roster, as they are on paper, which is all we can go off right now, looking at their roster, do we expect it for them to have success? Yes.
Greg, they finished 11th in scoring, 18th on defense. That's not the Ravens' way. I played against the Ravens when they're at their highest. I know what this team is capable of. They underachieved. They're not them. And it's okay to say they're not elite.
I'm not saying that they didn't underachieve.
But my point is, if you're elite, you achieve. That's what makes you elite. The Seahawks, Rams, Broncos, Bills, Eagles at 11-6. Even this all the madness with them. Those are elite teams. The Ravens aren't. And we could all sleep at night saying, that's okay.
No. Yeah.
I love it.
I completely disagree. But it's okay.
It is.
And I understand.
Everybody falls from grace. We witnessed it this season.
I understand and recognize your bias.
No.
I respect.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't pull my Steelers card. This is me keeping it a buck with you.
Who was talking about the Steelers?
Why else would I be biased?
Probably the Steelers.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I mean.
All right. The odds makers agree with you. They say that they are the third best team in football.
The two-time MVP, and all of a sudden, nope, they can't do it.
Right. You know who was in Cancun before anybody else? That two-time MVP.
Same time as everybody. All right, well, let's get back to
teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, they all go to Cancun on the same flight, I think is how it works. Let's talk a little bit more Caleb Williams. He had that conversation with Maxx Crosby. We got into it yesterday, but he talked about Ben Johnson in a way that, frankly, I loved. Take a listen to it.
Our relationship has been fun to build and grow, and it's going to be fun for these next couple of years because I told Max this. I was like, yo, he's like He's like us. Like he wants to whoop everybody's.
Yes, he does, because he is the right kind of crazy person that you want as your head coach. So, gentlemen, the case for the Bears here, or the question is, Bears more likely to take a step forward or a step back? And I felt like I had to sit on the sideline a little bit for the Ravens conversation. So allow me. But no, I know the case for regression for the Bears, and even as a Bears fan, I think it is a totally fair question and case to make. So I will do it. I know the reasons why people are going to think that the Bears are going to step back. And part of it is because they like the Lions and they like the Packers.
There's more to that.
No, I know. But so here I think are the three fairest things for the Bears and their case for regression. It is turnovers are very tough to duplicate.
So
they led the league in takeaways. Maybe even if they're ninth in takeaways, they won't be first, right? It's very tough to do that back-to-back years. I think that is totally fair. They will not lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks. Tough to have 7 fourth quarter comebacks in a season. That led the NFL. And this one I think is getting maybe overlooked a little bit nationally, but they were remarkably healthy with Willie's beloved offensive line. Left guard to right tackle.
Facts.
They all played over 90% of the snaps this season. That is
damn near impossible.
Damn near impossible, and especially from what it was 2 years ago to this year, it was night and day. So I think all three of those things are likely to backslide, and I will concede all three of those points. The case for them stepping forward, though, I also took a lot of time and care, and I put that together. If we could just throw that up there, please. Yeah, that's right. They have Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. That is the case of the step. And I know those pictures are a little, extra, and that's fine. But I think that is the case for it. Because I can make the case for they're going to, spend money on their front seven or whatever the case may be. But, honestly, if we all sat here yesterday and said that Caleb Williams is an MVP, best player in the league type talent, and we all agree that Ben Johnson is a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan level offensive mind and play caller, and then you look at those two dudes and you get Caleb year 2 with that guy, plus all of the other under 23 talent, Loveland, Burden, Odunze, Managai, they can have the best offense in football next year that, to me, can overtake those obvious cases for regression. So I will say step forward because I think their offensive ceiling is limitless next year.
Yeah, I'm on the regression side of things.
I get it.
I think anytime you have a young team that arrives early, the league tends to have a counterpunch. And you talk about an offensive line who's having some left tackle issues. They're moving Joe Thuney to the left side. There's going to be an opening at the left guard position. You're talking about right now, you're looking at Caleb, and not that he was a secret before, but I think the impact he had last year, the league will figure you out. I mean, it's just the nature of the NFL. And I also think right now they're in a division where I think the Detroit Lions will be coming for blood. They're going to be a lot better. I think your Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love, they're going to have them figured out. I think you're going to have a healthy Michael Parsons. That's going to have an impact. The Vikings, hopefully, if J.J. McCarthy can get healthy, they're going to be play at a different level. So right now the Bears, valid what they were 5-12 in 2024, excuse me. They went to, I think, 11-6 last year. I can see this team being 10-7 next season. That's where I have them placed.
So I'm with you there. I don't necessarily evaluate a step back or correlate the two of your record is just going to be worse, but if you do perform better in the postseason, which I believe that they will, then I think that's a step forward. I'm not necessarily
no doubt.
allowing those two to be married.
They lost in the divisional round of the playoffs. If they take a step forward,
because the division is good.
Forward.
The division is really good, and I think it's going to be up for grabs. But I think they will have a shot to win the division, largely because you talk about their offense. We all know about their offense. We know what Caleb can do. We know what Ben Johnson brings to the table. But this defense, even with what they had this year, I looked at that defense and I felt like I was scratching my head trying to figure out why they were so bad. Because they had talent on that defensive side of the ball. It just didn't perform to the level of what we saw in the postseason game when when Dennis Allen said, you know what, let's go after him. Let's go after Jordan Love. Let's just make it hard on them and not sit back and let them pick us apart. if this defense, and you can look at the defensive numbers, improves, and the offense takes a slight step back, but this defense improves in all these areas, then yes, they take a step forward. Why? Because when they need that defense to be at its best in the postseason, if they have a chance to make it there, I feel like they can make a deeper run. One of the questions of why I felt like this team couldn't make a deep run was because of this defense. They were going to give up too many points. They couldn't get the stop when needed. If they find a way to improve that side of the ball, and that side of the ball alone, the obvious is right in front of us. Caleb's going to improve. I think that offense is going to continue to grow.
The offensive improvement is going to come from just improvement from within.
Of course.
Experience.
Defensively, once you find some pieces and you get them in-house, and which I believe that they're going to put their money in there, we'll see what they do in the draft, but that's going to be their focus, then yeah, this team is going to improve. Not necessarily that they will win the division, but their record might reflect, 10 or 11 wins again, maybe even 12. But I think where the improvement comes is in the postseason, where they can truly be confident and believe that they can make a deeper run versus this year getting out in the divisional round.
What the loss of Declan Doyle means to Caleb Williams. Right?
Ben Johnson's going to be fine.
Yeah,
you would think so,
right?
But you would expect, like, people underestimate, and I think this is one of the why Jalen Hurts has regressed. I've had position coaches. I've had coaches where they just see a different angle of you, right? They see inside you where other coaches can't. I think when you lose a coach like that, who you've grown rapport with, who you grew with this season, now a trust issue plays a factor, right? Now a schematic scheme plays an issue. I know for a fact, because I've had position coaches when a new guy got in there, like, that guy really don't know me. He's going to ask me to do things that I'm not comfortable with. I know you've been in that position.
Yep.
And it plays a factor, especially when you're Caleb, because Caleb now understands this is on me. It was my car before, but now I'm really driving this thing. So if you don't have that guy next to you that you believe in or that believes in you or trusts you, then it could be a cause for concern.
So for me, the reason why I don't look at that as a concern, a major concern, is when you're in those meeting rooms, offensive meeting rooms, and you have a play caller that is your head coach, the first year, the loudest voice and the most constant voice is his. Mm-hmm. And Ben Johnson, when you listen to him, when you listen to Caleb, he doesn't talk about Declan Doyle. I'm not saying they don't have a relationship and they didn't have a rapport, but he was in constant communication with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was challenging him. Ben Johnson was critiquing and correcting all of the things that informing him how we want this to look, how I need you to run this offense, what I expect from you running this offense. Declan, in year one, you can't say, here, Declan, you take this on and I'll just oversee. No. You're going to be completely hands-on because this is my baby. This is my first head coaching gig. Right. This is my offense. The expectation is for me to level up this offense, and he did that. So the loudest voice was always going to be Ben Johnson's, and I think that they will continue to grow, and whoever comes in will really do the same thing that Declan Doyle did this year.
Yeah, I mean, I could just tell you, like, Ben Johnson and Caleb worked so closely together, and Ben Johnson basically lived at the facility. Like he was doing everything. I'm not saying that Declan Doyle's not a great coach. I will be surprised if the Bears lose and they'll be like, that was the reason for it. How much improvement can they make? How good can they be? Like I was talking about this with a friend the other day. I was like, so the Bears can be the best offense in football. A lot of teams believe that, but how many people, like Dallas believes it, the Rams believe it, the Jaguars believe it. There's probably Buffalo believes it. There's probably half a dozen teams that really think that they can be the best offense in football. If you can do that, you can cover for a lot of other issues, and they are going to spend money on the defensive side of the ball this year. So I think that's the case for them to step forward. Can they be a complete team? And if Caleb Williams is an MVP candidate, you're gonna be good. Really good.
Well, I think they kind of proved that this year, because even go back to the Saints game when Caleb wasn't at his best. They had a run game that showed up, right? The defense had a good day. So there's aspects and levels to this team that can respond. So I'm fine with the Bears right now. We'll see what happens next year.
Well, the doctor's in the house. I call myself Dr. Danny. It makes me more, approachable,
more polished
to the kids.
Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. So all these teams have an issue. We'll do the NFC North here.
Committed.
Look at me.
Look at that.
Let me go. Went to the finest medical school in all the land. I got my NFC North patients here that have walked in to the office, and we begin with the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings.
Now, for a last place team, I have to say,
Yeah.
got a lot going for you. 9 wins last season. Some really impressive things on defense. You just have this one glaring issue that's jumping off the chart, but it's an important one. It's the quarterback. J.J. McCarthy's been a main story. You got to figure out a way to make him a side story this upcoming year, because I think that they are going to commit to J.J. McCarthy for this year. They'll bring in some level of competition, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a swing as some Vikings fans would want. J.J. finished the last 4 games pretty solid, so I think they traded up for him. I think they're going to ride with J.J. If you look at the Minnesota defense from last year, last 2 weeks of the season, they held Detroit to 10 points. They held Green Bay to 3 points. Brian Flores, they were able to retain him. He's the highest paid defensive coordinator in football. They won 9 games. If they can just figure out a way to make J.J. McCarthy not the only thing we talk about with this franchise, Greg, you live in Minnesota. They're not that far away from being a very dangerous football team.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, there's no surprise that you have to fix this situation at the quarterback position, whether that's continuing to develop who he is, building his confidence, encouraging him to just be more and not necessarily force the ball down the field. But what being more looks like is what we saw with Caleb in running the offense and making it look smooth, being on time, being on schedule. A large part of his success is going to weigh on whether or not they can have an established running game. Because when you have a young quarterback that's not as seasoned, that has inaccuracies about his throwing at times, not on the same page with his receivers, you have to be able to turn around and hand the ball off. If they can do that, they might get a little bit more production out of J.J. McCarthy, but he has a lot of work to do.
I like that you threw up their defensive stats because they do have a damn good defense, but the interior of their defensive line was horrible. All right, they struggle mightily to stop the run. And if you're the Vikings in this division, when you know you got the Lions and you know what the Bears look like running the ball, you have to find some big uglies in the middle to plug those A-gaps, and they simply didn't have it this year. They're going to have to go in the draft and get some big uglies that really could help them out in their run defense.
All right, let's see the next patient in the NFC North, and it is the Detroit Lions, my NFC Super Bowl pick from the last 2-3 years. So I believe in this team.
Yeah, clearly.
Got a lot of things. If at first you do not succeed, try again. Though, spoiler alert, I might be picking a different NFC North team next year.
Don't do it.
For the Super Bowl. But here's what I would say. You need to get Aiden Hutchinson some help.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk on rebuilding the interior of that offensive line. We'll see what happens with Frank Ragnow. You got that going for you there. But I would trade for Maxx Crosby. Now, I know there's 15 teams, and we'll maybe get to another one here in a minute, that you should trade for Maxx Crosby. But Aiden Hutchinson is one of the best defensive players in football, period. And he doesn't have any help.
Yeah.
If we look at the gap between what Hutchinson does in terms of pressuring and bringing down the other team's quarterback over a 3-season sample size, and who the next highest total is in pressures and sacks, it's an Atlantic Ocean size, or it was right there for me, a Lake Michigan size. I blew it. Gulf between Hutchinson and the next guy. So while a lot of teams should be looking to trade for Maxx Crosby, I'd put the Lions pretty high up on that list.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you in that aspect, but I also think they've got to find some identity offensively. I thought the carousel between, Dan Campbell taking over the offensive reins. I forgot who's the new OC they got right now. I apologize.
It was Morton.
It's escaping. But nevertheless,
that was who he was last year.
Petzel now.
Drew.
His name escapes me. I apologize. But my point is they got to find some continuity in that regard. I thought they were too up and down from an identity standpoint. If they could figure that out, I expect the Lions to have a big year next year. I think the way they built from a culture standpoint, the weapons they already have in place, I see a big bounce back year for them.
So I know we want Aiden Hutchinson to have help. This was one of the things that I said that either a day or two ago about Maxx Crosby being on alongside him. But if they can just stay healthy,
that would help.
Yeah.
Like they're in the doctor's office a little too much.
On the defensive side of the ball, too.
Yeah,
I've been seeing a lot of Lions in my office.
Man, and it's like, look, if this team can just stay healthy towards the latter end of the season and find a way to be healthy at the most important times of the season, then this team can do some damage in the postseason. They just haven't been the last couple of years.
Yeah, that was certainly the case 2 years ago where they had that record-setting number of guys on IR on the defensive side of the ball. And then it really did repeat repeat very late in the season last year. So it's not just that they have defensive injuries. Last year was they had defensive injuries at the worst time.
Yeah.
Like they were
that was the problem the
healthy
year before
September,
that.
October, November. Right, yeah. To Greg's point, it's 2 years in a row. All right, we got the next team. Greg's Green Bay Packers coming into Dr. Danny's office. And I got to be honest, this is a patient that's given me a lot of problems over the years.
A lot of problems.
Yeah, it's always, blowing up my inbox. They're questioning. They're getting second opinions.
Oh, we're definitely going to get some second opinions.
They're just kind of a problematic patient for me.
Just based on where your practice is located, we're definitely going to get
that could be a problem.
Exactly. Go across state lines, But I got to say, there's a glaring issue on this team if you look at their depth chart where you're like, they just don't have enough talent in the defensive backfield, and I would think that they should go out and get a cornerback because their offense, even if they lose a receiver or two, their offense is humming.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is really good. The receivers are really good. LaFleur is really good. You have to sign an impact cornerback. And whether that is Jalen Watson, if they take him from Kansas City, if it's Reek Woolen, I'm not sure if he fits in the scheme as well, but leaving from Seattle. There will be cornerbacks that get money and change teams, and I know Green Bay doesn't love spending in free agency traditionally, but if we look at the 5-game losing streak for Green Bay to end the year, and I know this is correlated with Micah Parsons' injury, and I know he solves a lot of it, but so I'm not saying you have to spend it on Micah Parsons level, but if you can get him some help behind him, the Packers are one of the teams that are actually built to be a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. And if you do that, you can win a Super Bowl. So I would be looking for the secondary for Green Bay.
Well, it's one of the reasons why they brought in Trayvon Diggs last season to see what he turns into with a full season and a full off season. But one of the names that's looming around Green Bay and free agency is Greg Newsome, like a corner out of Jacksonville that had a very good season. So I'm with you there, Doc. Like, they have to improve this area, especially when you look at the fashion of which they lost some of those games, specifically to the Chicago Bears. Where Caleb beat them with their perimeter guys getting behind them and burning them in late game fashion.
Yeah, they just have to win free agency. They have to keep the core together. You're talking about Quay Walker, Rasheed, the big right tackle that the Packers had that got hurt. If they can keep those guys in-house, they can make a run. I think for them right now is they got to get back to running the ball from a volume standpoint. They have a running back, they have an offensive line, but they need to stabilize. I think so many times late in games, there was so much pressure to put on Jordan Love to be the answer. Valid, he's more than capable, but I look at Caleb, and I look at some of these other quarterbacks. When things get hostile out there, they can lean on the run game. I don't think they did that enough this season. I think it cost them.
It did go away for them for a decent portion of the season. All right, now, see, this is the exact opposite. This is an exemplary patient. They're just doing what I tell them. Diet, eating right, exercise. I mean, honestly, I can just probably throw it out.
No, don't throw it. Don't throw it out.
Okay, well, listen. There were some serious issues also on the defensive side of the ball, and so. Call me a broken record, or maybe, I'm, in the pockets of the drug industry and I always prescribe the same thing. Trade for Maxx Crosby. Like, it's the same exact thing. Honestly, he solves so many problems. Like, the Bears defense.
We got him up there twice.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, again, there's probably 20 teams that if Maxx Crosby's available are going to at least make the call. But he can be the piece that because then Montez Sweat becomes your second pass rusher instead of your first. And then the investment you made in Dio Dengbo, the kid from Indianapolis last year, doesn't matter as much. Then you have a Caleb Williams crazy competitor like Motor on the other side of the ball. Go ahead.
And apologize for cutting. Go back to what Greg said earlier. Now you don't have to blitz as much, right? Like think about what the Seahawks, the Texans, and what that front four does for your defense, right?
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off their secondary when you got an edge rushers or guys up front that can get home and really suppress an offense. So yeah, I'm with you. Go get Maxx Crosby. Whatever you got to do, go get it.
Well, and just the numbers for the Bears pass defense last year, or really their pressure defense, 22nd in sacks, 24th in hits, 25th in pressure. In terms of some of the rates, they were actually even worse than that because they ran the ball so well. There were fewer possessions for the Bears. So their front seven was a massive disappointment led by their pass rush. He solves a ton of problems.
Yeah, look, it could be Maxx Crosby. It could be Trey Hendrickson. Like, they just need some help. And obviously, if they get help, it helps out the back end. Clearly, they need linebacker help. They need to focus your attention on defense.
You're right, Greg. They also need safety help, right?
Yeah.
They may lose.
Jaquan Brisker
may be gone.
Yeah,
so
they've got Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard both could be gone. My guess is they keep Byard and lose Brisker. Brisker's had concussion issues. They had a lot of injuries in their secondary last year.
Did.
Kyler Gordon was hurt. Jalen Johnson was hurt. When those guys were back, they looked better at the end of the season. So I don't think their back four is as bad as it looked like over last year. They need front seven help, though, for sure. Maxx Crosby solves a lot of problems.
Well, also, you mentioned a name earlier this week that I thought I didn't even think about on the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. Right?
Yeah,
like,
he might be a surplus in New York. He could probably
but
be
he's a
had.
guy who I feel like hasn't been unlocked yet, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you give him legit responsibilities, like, hey, kid, we watched you in Oregon. All we want you to do is go get it. That can be an upside for this defense, especially because he's young and he can be mentored by a Sweat. So I think that'd be a great addition as well.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back to the Giants. My guess is they try to move him, shed some salary, move that to the offensive side of the ball. NFC North, pretty strong division, not the biggest of issues for that team.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.